Is there anywhere you go these days where you don't see people fixated on their phones? Restaurants, movie theaters, even church. You name it, in today's social media craze, it has taken over the art of conversation.
You know what? Have we forgotten how to actually talk to someone? I mean, a real back and forth conversation, especially with our kids who know nothing more than their cell phones. Well, Kristin Arnold, she's a conversation coach and is here with some great tips to help get that conversation going. And Kristin, I never thought in a million years we'd even be having to have this conversation.
Well, you're in the business of having conversations, but many people don't know how to have a decent, great conversation.
Well, and not just our millennials, but even, well, anybody.
All of us.
There are a lot of
us.
people who don't know how to begin that conversation.
Well, and part of it is our society is morphing into a more digital society, and we get a lot of our news and our information. The way that we converse is all digital and electronic. So when you're having a face-to-face conversation, that's a little different.
And you say tip number one is to start by putting away our phone.
Put down your phone. I mean, I think that cell phones are great, but when you want to have a conversation with people, then put down your phone. Make an intentional choice that you aren't going to immediately grab the phone.
So after you get over the shakes, you put your phone away.
Cell phone withdrawal.
Right?
It is like cocaine, you know, it's like an addict.
It's like a drug.
Yeah.
It truly is.
It is.
You said then the next step, tip number 2 would be to start the conversation with an open-ended question. What do you mean by that?
So you know how when your kids come home and you ask them, so how was your day today? You think you're asking an open-ended question, but your child will answer it,
Fine.
fine. Well, they're answering it like a closed question. So you want to ask a different open-ended question that requires a response, a longer response. So an example would be, so tell me, what was the most interesting thing that happened to you today? So that it's prompting a longer answer. Now, the person can still come back and say, nothing. It just means you have to try harder.
Right, okay, which leads us into tip number 3, which is the follow-up question.
So let's say you get the conversation going and somebody says something pretty interesting. You might say, well, tell me more about that. Or, how did that happen to you? Or have you had that happen before? Or just ask a follow-up question. I mean, you two are brilliant at this on this show, where somebody says something and you go, well, tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's called a lot of experience and a lot of
But
silence at the end.
But the number one thing, though, is listening.
Yeah.
We have to listen to what they're saying so that we do know to ask the follow-up.
Right, and even just saying, so what I'm hearing you say is that we need to listen to what people are saying. That's great validation that, yes, I am listening to you, versus wanting to reach over to my cell phone.
Right.
You know, when there's a pause, when there's a lull in the conversation, sometimes we just want to reach over to our cell phone and go, oh, does somebody love me? Well, instead, why don't we reach out and ask a follow-up question that extends the conversation?
Conversation, it's such a lost art anymore, I tell you. Okay, this is a really good one, but you're going to have to explain what it means. Play ping pong.
So ping pong is that this conversation is an example of we're playing ping pong. You talk, I talk, you talk, I talk, you talk, you talk. You know, so you're having a balanced conversation. Nobody wants to have a lecture or a monologue. They want to have a dialogue, a discussion. And so ping pong is kind of, the ball can't stay on one side for too long.
Right. Which we know it can in our world.
Absolutely. And I love what you said, though, about who loves me. We grab our phone to, like, get that surge of who's texting, who's worrying about me, and that's the downfall right there.
Well,
that's why it's an addiction, right?
I think one of the things is that we are not allowing quiet time to occur. And conversation occurs in quiet time. If you're constantly juggling things around, you don't stop and intentionally have a conversation. And I think one of the things that we do is when the phone is there, present, then if we have a moment of thought, quiet, we fill it with that crack cocaine, that, you know, that phone.
I think what we need to do is start cell phone rehab.
That's
all there is
to
it.
Well, this has been a great conversation.
It has been. Kristin, you're amazing. And guess what? We do have a link to Kristin's information on our website. If you'd actually like to have a conversation with her, it's right there at SonoranLiving.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.